Hey BookTube, this is Friday Reads.
I got my ticket for the long way round.
I'm Jen and I listen to audiobooks and I talk about them all the time, and so I will tell you what I'm going to read this weekend, but let me recap what I read last week first. And I'm going to start with book 6 in the Animal Magnetism series by Jill Shalvis. Of course, I seem to be fixating on Jill Shalvis lately. This was called Still the One, and it was narrated on audio by Karen White. And, you know, let me reiterate once again that I don't know who made this decision, Jill Shalvis or her publishers or her editors or whoever, to keep Karen White as the narrator for every book in this series. Best decision they could have made. And in fact, let me play for you a little segment that I think if you read this on a page in the book, I don't think it would have had near the punch that listening to it is. So
She closed her eyes and racked her brain for an easy admission that wouldn't hurt too much. I know I've done everything in my power to be a bitch to you, but it's to hide the fact that I really like you. Yeah, that one was perfect. If she'd been in middle school. Good Lord.
See what I mean? This is the story of AJ, a physical therapist, and Darcy, who is a woman who is recuperating from a terrible, terrible car accident that almost killed her. So it's the story of their romance, and this was good until about, I don't know, 80% of the way through, and then it just kind of fizzled out for me. Now, I love Jill Shalvis. I'll read all of her books. In fact, I am reading all of her books. So they're all wonderful palate cleansers for me. They're nice little breaks when I've been reading something intense and I want just, you know, some kind of a little breath of fresh air. So it's not a bad book. It's very readable and very entertaining and very good and very true to how good Shalvis is. So I gave it 3 stars. 10,000 Skies Above You, which is book 2 in the Firebird series by Claudia Gray. And this was narrated on audio by Tavia Gilbert. She is a narrator that I've listened to before, but she's not my favorite. And the reason is that she tends to sound a little desperate at times. Now, don't get me wrong, she puts a lot of great emotion into her narration, but I don't know, there were times when she just sounded like this, and it just didn't need to sound like this. It was like she was on the verge of tears at times, and these were not points in the story where the main character should have been on the verge of tears. So, I don't know, that left somewhat a little to be desired. This is all about Marguerite and Theo and Paul and the bad guy, Connolly. Marguerite is a young girl who can travel between parallel universes through the help of a pendant that her parents created called Firebird. Essentially, it's her consciousness drops into herself in the other world. Paul and Theo are the 2 graduate kind of research assistants that work with her mother and dad in developing this technology that allows them to, you know, travel between these universes. So the second book picks up Paul's soul has been splintered into 4 pieces. And so Marguerite and Theo go off on a journey to find those pieces in the various Pauls in the different universes where they are and reunite them so we can get the real Paul back. And Marguerite really learns a lot about herself through the course of the story. In this book, she's also able to see the consequences of what's happened while she was in the body of the Marguerite that she jumped into. This ends on a cliffhanger and is a great one. I am not dying for that 3rd book, but I am looking forward to seeing what happens with Marguerite and Paul and Theo. And so, we will see. I gave this one 4 stars. So many people have told me that the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy by Carson is amazing. So I started that a couple of weeks ago, and so then I picked up Crown of Embers, which is the 2nd book in the trilogy. This was narrated on audio by Jennifer Ikeda, and she's fantastic. She is such a talented narrator. She can do accents like nobody's business, and I think that this was good. I don't think it's the best I've ever heard from Jennifer Ikeda, but it was certainly very good. And I think probably her narration made the book as good as I found it to be. So in this continuation of the story, we pick up Elisa as she is becoming a ruler. I didn't like her for most of this book. I thought she was a weak queen, a weak ruler, and kind of clueless in a way, because she was surrounded by every available opportunity to get counsel from wise people, and she just didn't do it. She kept thinking she needed to be a certain way and do a certain thing, and I would think, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I didn't like the path that that character took. And it is a wonderful developing romance, and just at the right pace, so I liked that a lot. It has a great ending. The setup for the third book is really, really good. So now I'm excited to pick up the third book and see what happens. I think it's going to be a really, really good display of this main character taking charge and leading like she should have been leading for the first 75 to 80% of this book. So I gave this one 3 stars. And lastly, Strange Skies. This is by Kristi Helvig, and it is book 2 in the Burnout series. It's narrated on audio by Suzy Jackson, who was wonderful. Really good narration. I think that she even brought it up a level from where it would have been had the narration not been as good as it was. This is the story of Thora, who is a girl that lived on Earth, and it was an Earth where their sun had gone supernova, and was starting to be in the process of burning up the Earth. And her dad has created these weapons, and her dad, she thought was killed, but has been kidnapped and taken to this other planet. A lot of the appeal of this book is the fact that this other planet is very different than everything she's ever known. There's lots of water, there's vegetation, there's jungle / forest with huts, and she's completely unfamiliar with the ocean or lakes and ponds and rain, and that part is kind of cool. That's kind of fun. James is the love interest, and he previously was part of a group of pseudo soldiers, more like mercenaries actually, led by a guy named Cale, and they wanted the weapons, and so Thora was not going to give them the weapons, and so James shot her. And so when the book begins, she's been in a coma for a little while, and she wakes up and she's got to deal with where she is and what's happening. This had all of the trappings of a great book. Everything was so predictable and convenient, and I did not like that. The big bad corporation really never panned out as a bad guy, and Cale the villain was just not, I don't know, he didn't carry the same impact that a really good villain would carry, and that was just disappointing. Really, this book had so much potential, and it just didn't go there. I gave it 3 stars on the merits of the narration by Suzy Jackson. I thought she was really good, but this story, I wish it had been better. And I have a lot of respect for this author because I think that she really tried, but it just didn't have any impact at all. This weekend, I am listening to Regulation 19 by P.T. Hylton. P.T. Hylton is a booktuber, actually, and I will link his channel in the box, and I would suggest that you go check him out. He's a great sci-fi / graphic novel guy. He has a lot of great reviews. He's doing some read-alongs, and he's a good writer. This book is well written. I really, really like a lot of the ways he puts together dialogue. I think he's really good at that. And this is kind of a post-apocalyptic dystopian. I don't know. It sounds like an episode of The Twilight Zone that I remember that I really liked. So I don't know. I'll let you know in my wrap-up how it goes. But so far, it's really good. I like the narrator a lot. He sounds like a guy, like an old guy from Tennessee. I love that. So that's on tap for this weekend. I also really want to finish The Star Dwellers by David Estes. I keep waiting to get back to that story because it's on my little waterproof iPod that I listen to when I swim laps, and I haven't been in the pool lately, and it's killing me. I mean, it's like I want to get in the pool and finish the story. It's a great dystopian. I really like it. It's YA, and it's really good. It's got great characters and a good plot. So hopefully I'll finish that this weekend. And I'm finishing up The Ice Queen by Alice Hoffman. This is a book I just had on my shelf. She's an amazing writer. Really interesting style of writing and tone to her. I think it's called voice. She has a very interesting and unique voice. And this is adult fiction. It's a character study, and I'll tell you about it in a wrap-up, but suffice it to say that there are a lot of places in this book that I've tabbed just because there are times when she's saying something and it is said so well. Amazing. So I'm 145 pages in, and there are only 200 pages in the book, so I'm going to be able to knock this out probably tonight. On audio, I have a lot of choices here, and I don't know if what I'll do, I'll probably just pick up another romance because I think I'll need to after P.T. Hylton's book. I don't know though. I've got Swan Song by Robert McCammon, and I may do that. That's a big, big deal post-apocalyptic novel along the lines of Stephen King's The Stand. So I don't know, that might be good. Anyway, that's what my weekend looks like. What are you reading this weekend? I always want to know. So let's talk about that in comments, and that's it for now from me. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
When I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk. You're gonna miss me by my talk. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone.